For our keynote address of the day, I'm delighted to invite India's builder extraordinaire, the man credited with changing Mumbai's skyline, Dr. Niranjan Hiranandani. Please, sir.
Good afternoon, friends, and I'm really happy to be here for the Hurun Report India. Thank you very much for inviting me over here. I'm especially delighted to be honored by having all the illustrious members from real estate sitting up right in the front of the audience. And really, there's nothing much that they don't know that I can possibly share with you. In fact, there's so much that we learn from each other that I think that is something which always surprises me. Take, for example, shortage of land in Mumbai. I always thought that there is no land available in South Mumbai. There is no land available, so I used to go to places like Powai and Thane and further on to see what availability is there. And then I met a person called Babulal Verma from Omkar. And he told me that there is no shortage of land in Mumbai for the simple reason that he looked at all the slums which were here and he said, this is all my land that I have. And so it's a question of how you really look at an opportunity when other people are blinded because they're not willing to change. They're all stuck up in their old thoughts of a last generation, especially successful people. Successful people are blinded because they only know that route which made them successful. Today, when they have to look at change or new things to happen, it doesn't happen or you can't see it. You are blinded. What else happened? 1991, same thing happened. The cars which worked over here in Mumbai was the Ambassador and the Fiat car. And they were blinded. They refused to change the kind of models that were needed or the associations they need to do. Both these companies were eliminated. They just went off the air. And they were never seen again simply because they were not willing to look at change that have taken place. So that's what's continuing to happen. We had the Lehman Crisis, probably one of the things which brought about a lot of knowledge and gyan to me. Because 2 years before that, we all targeted to say, can we do IPOs, can we do this, whatever it is. And the secret was, get as much land as you can, value this land piece, and be able to leverage it. And our developers became the richest people in India simply by looking at valuations in terms of what was done in the country. It didn't work because the execution capacity didn't match the kind of thought process which came in front of valuations. And those kind of disappeared in the minds of people that really done. So when the present tsunamis have come, economic tsunamis of 2016, 17 have really come into the forefront, starting with demonetization, followed by RERA, followed by this insolvency and liquidation law, followed by various other positions that we see today in the last 1 year. What is it that has happened? The happened is that we're just not ready for it. We were not ready for it in many sort of ways. I must say that the people sitting in the audience here are the exceptions to the rule, because those are the ones which are the most successful people who've been able to ride this wave and be able to cross it. Go to a place called Noida in Delhi, and then you will know what kind of effect tsunamis have taken place. 2 lakh apartments have been constructed, 50% investment in construction done, 90% collected, amount due to be paid to the Punjab government, to the UP government, amounts payable by the builders for the purposes to the banks, amounts purchased by the flat purchasers. Many of them who could afford 1 flat have bought 5. They have borrowed from the banks and invested into it, and there is no horizon. And the government believes that because they have brought RERA, and because they have brought in insolvency law, the solution will come into the marketplace and be able to get you the answers. Those are not the answers that we are going to give, unfortunately, but we really have to look at new paradigms that are going to take place, and there are geniuses well in these audiences who may take over some of these projects, which I understand Mr. Abhishek Lodha will probably take over one of those projects and put it to track. So what they are not able to see, we'll have Mr. Lodha to be able to solve that kind of problem which is over there. So what is it really that we are looking at in terms of change which is likely to take place? As I said just now, Mr. Babulal Verma showed me that there is no land availability as far as South Mumbai is concerned. But what's happening in the next 5 years is actually going to be much more change than what we can imagine as far as the Mumbai region is concerned. What do we see? 170 kilometers of metro are going to be laid out in the next 5 to 7 years in Mumbai. Today, Western Railway, Central Railway, and Harbour Line is 190 kilometers. So we will almost double the metro track that is going to take place. We have a cross-harbour bridge, which is going to come up only after 45 years of original thought process, but the work is starting in the first half of 2018 and is expected to be completed in 4 years. You have the coastal road, the work which will start in the first half of this year, which will connect from Marine Drive to Bandra, and from Bandra to Worli, and then from Bandra to Warsaw, a bridge to connect the other extreme of the whole thing. And you have a cross-harbour bridge and the ro-ro connectivity, which will connect by boat, take your car up to Alibag as far as that is concerned. What are these changes going to do? The changes that are going to do is going to bring more land available for the purposes of development, equal to the total land of Mumbai. So the total land that you have in Mumbai shall be added on for the purposes of development. Irfan Razak Saab always used to say, Mumbai has no land, so I shall not come here. But now I can tell him, sir, please do come over here. There's too much land going to be available very soon. So you don't have to really worry about getting the land, because that's all going to be available for you to fly down from Bangalore and actually buy a house also. So that's what you can possibly do. The other aspect where change is expected is a thing called FSI. FSI is fooling all the people all the time. FSI in Mumbai, once upon a time, was 2.66 in South Mumbai, 2.33 in the rest of Mumbai, 1.66 on the periphery of Mumbai, and the suburban was considered 1. This FSI was brought down and was brought down to 1.33. The chief minister just now has increased it by 0.5, which makes it to 1.83, which is only the tip of the iceberg that has happened. But you know what the governments of the day have been doing in the last 10 to 15 years? They only fool us all the time. They give FSI in pieces and bits. So if there are certain things called hotels, they're giving higher FSI. If there is a thing called hospitals, they give higher FSI. If you want redevelopment, they give you 3.5 FSI. If you have a Bandra Kulla complex where you want to cause congestion and so you can't enter into Bandra Kulla complex, you cannot get out of it, so you give 4 FSI. If you want to develop Dharavi, which is never going to get developed, you want to give 4 FSI. If you want to do things which you cannot do, you increase the FSI, but don't change the infrastructure. So the biggest change which I see now happening is that the first time in the history, the infrastructure is going to be married along with the increase in FSI. And FSI is only one city has followed this to the core, and that is Hyderabad, Andhra, which has removed the concept of FSI completely. You are now based on road width, firefighting, and parking. And that's where the future will go. FSI as a concept shall disappear in the next couple of years, because this small increment of FSI given for mill lands, given for redevelopment, given to Mr. Hiranandani, given for townships, given for IT, and all that is fooling the people because you really don't bring volumes into the market, and at the same time, you do not create the affordable housing which is necessary for the purposes of making the paradigm. So now Government of India has mandated that cities shall increase FSI in order to meet the affordable housing objective. And when they have directed this, our state, Maharashtra, has increased it by 0.5 when actually they should have made it 4. So nevertheless, at some point of time, the FSI as a concept is really going to vanish, provided infrastructure development is married with these whole things. Why do I mention this to all the illustrious people here? It's nothing to do with what is going to happen, what has happened yesterday, what is happening today, or what is going to happen tomorrow. The only thing that we really have to know is that change is going to take place much more rapidly in the next couple of years, and various things and problems that we see have to have answers. Why do I say have to have answers? We have a beloved Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi, who has mandated that by 2022, is it 2020 or 22? 22. 2022, there shall be housing for all by that period of time. Now, if we want to reach that target, we have to grow by 35% compounded per annum in the next 5 years, and we shall reach 35% of that target. So the growth potential that is required for the purposes of reaching these targets is extremely aggressive. And that's why Mr. Lodha can see that twinkle in his eyes to say that he's going to grow not by 35%, but maybe 300% in order to reach the targets of the Prime Minister, which is really going to happen. So growth shall take place because the Mr. Prime Minister is here. Mr. Abhishek Lodha asked me just a few minutes before this program started that I'm asking demands which are not going to be accepted by the Government of India. And one of the demands that we have put through NAREDCO is that the GST should be brought down to 6%. And he said, you know, it's not possible for the government really to give such demands. I was telling him that it is not the demand that I'm asking for Niranjan Hiranandani. It really doesn't matter to the extent of the whole thing is there. The point is very simple. If you want to achieve a target which the Prime Minister is talking about, you have to increase the FSI. You have no choice. If you want to achieve the target which the Prime Minister is talking about and create affordable housing in the volumes that you do, you have to create the necessary infrastructure, that development that has to do. If you want to achieve the Prime Minister's target to do, you have to get the states to give all the ease of doing business that we have been demanding and working together to do it. And we would love to cooperate in this sector. It shall create much more competition in the air in the next few years if this is really going to roll out in the manner it is. But ultimately, it will create a goodwill and a position and a strength, both of the corporate enterprises that we are talking about and also in the marketplace, where shortages actually bring about a vision of unhealthiness which brought about RERA in its true form, because you have the consumer courts, but because even consumer courts could not get the consumers to really be happy with the law and its enforcement vis-a-vis the development community, these kind of changes really had to take place. So I want to share with you, my friends, that the next 5 years in India is going to see a growth story of real estate, which is going to be unprecedented in the annals of Indian history. The next 5 years to 7 years will be a fantastic growth. But can you see what I cannot see or others cannot see? As Mr. Babulal Verma saw in terms of land, which I did not see? Or did you see a growth story of young people who were able to make that paradigm change happen, like Mr. Loda, like Mr. Piramal, like Mr. Irfan Razak, like Mr. Bowman, like Mr. Garodia. All these are paradigm changes which have taken place, which took place in the external environment, whether statutory environment, Lehman Crisis environment, other environments, health environments, internal family disputes, dissipation, opportunities to go for IPOs, external commercial borrowings, and all the other factors that we need to do. One thing is very, very certain, that there are going to be newer people, younger people, who will grow this story tremendously, who, out of the existing people, will take this path of growing to rise up to the occasion, which I think the opportunity is going to be unprecedented. I may not be young enough to really make those paradigms happen. I'm already 67, my friends, but I do enjoy the company of younger people that I see around me who look as going to be aspiring to live to great models that I can say that the building industry and the real estate industry have really met the challenges of the time, not for everything that we do, but something which I have never seen before. I never thought that this could happen. Looking forward to all of that and sharing more platforms with all of you. Congratulations to the Hurun report. Thank you very much for inviting me and getting me to share my thoughts of what the future is going to be. I wish you all best of luck in a great time, in a great country, with a great leader like Mr. Modi will achieve fantastic results. Thank you very much. All the best to all of you.
Thank you, Doctor. I just overheard that you have the energy of a 27-year-old. I think everybody in this room would agree.